Hi everyone, my name is Dave and I recently scored a 760 on the GMAT. My split was a 44 on the verbal section and a 49 in the quant section. My GMAT journey is actually unlike most others. It actually spanned over 3 years. And so I began my journey in early 2020 and I actually ended up taking the GMAT 3 times that year. And I used like a number of prep courses. I used GMAT Club extensively. I took all the official mocks and I took a number of mocks from third-party websites. So yeah, I did a lot. And my 3 scores were 680, 700 and 720. Once I got to that 720, I think it was more of like I just grew tired. So I was like, I'm done. Because the 720 is a decent score. But, deep down, I always knew I could do better. So, I told myself, okay, you know what, this is it. I've spent a lot of time on this. So I shifted my focus to my career because at that point I was just done with 2 years of work experience. I wanted at least 5 when I applied for B school. So, I put the GMAT aside. I started to focus on other things and fast forward to February 2023. 5 years of work experience is done. And I thought, okay, you know what, I should apply. I should start working on my B school applications this year, for 2024 September intake. So I started speaking to a number of counselors and I was looking at, so I'm in finance. Sorry, I should have caught that. So, I was targeting the typical finance schools, Columbia, Wharton, Booth, NYU Stern. And, while all the counselors did agree that 720 is a more than decent score, my chances would be significantly higher if I were to boost my GMAT score by about 20 to 30 points. They thought I should actually take it up because I had a long time to go for round 1 deadline. So, they asked me to take it up seriously and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh God, I'm back to, taking the GMAT again. But, I told myself, 3 months, I'm going to give it 3 months and hopefully I'm done by then. So the mistake I made last time was I didn't try to learn all the concepts of Quant. I felt like there were a lot of holes in my quant prep, like a lot of gaps that I had to bridge this time around. I struggled with a lot of concepts, geometry, coordinate geometry, time and distance, work and rate. These are all concepts that I didn't take, a lot of measures to really improve upon. So I told myself this time I'm going to, make sure I get all the concepts right, because quant is something that, I needed a 49 because these finance schools typically look at your quant scores as a measure to see if that, you would succeed in their programs or not. So, I knew a 48 was not going to cut it. I needed at least a 49. And so I took a mock code just to see where I stand and I ended up scoring a 730. My verbal score was a 44, but my quant score was a 47. 47 isn't too bad, but it does, show that there's a lot of work that is needed to push it to a 49 or a 50. So I started doing some extensive research on GMAT Club, Beat the GMAT, and one course that I kept coming across was Target Test Prep. Students are raving about how easy it is, how flexible the course is. So, I thought, why not give it a shot? Because, you get a 1 week trial for $1. I thought, okay, why not give it a shot? And the 1 week actually flew by and I ended up finishing 8 to 10% of the entire course in that 1 week. So yeah, I really, enjoyed how flexible and how immersive the program was, or rather the course was. And I ended up purchasing the Flexi program because I wanted to take it month by month. And although my verbal score was, it was quite decent score. One aspect that I really wanted to improve upon was SC because I felt like I'd forgotten a lot of the SC rules and like a lot of the fundamentals, etc. So I needed to really brush up on that. And one thing that really stood out on TTP's verbal course was how they dive into the fundamentals of sentence correction. Like, they explain everything from the basics and they build upon it like every module, which really helped me tackle the meaning-based sentence correction questions. Like once you reach the 41, 42 level in your verbal section, I feel like the SC questions can get a bit challenging, especially the meaning-based questions where, the grammar rules help, but, they don't help you eliminate all the options. So the sentence correction module really helped me tackle the meaning-based questions. And that's one thing I found super useful on the verbal side. On the quant side, I thought it was a brilliant course overall because all the topics that were covered were extensive each question had a detailed explanation, and you could solve one question algebraically, but TDP also taught you how to solve it via plugging the options or testing numbers, or going down the old-fashioned route and doing it algebraically. And it was up to you to figure out which method to use, and that can only come via practice, which brings me to my second point. The one aspect of TDP that I found the most useful was the custom test generators. It really helped me tackle the topics that I felt like I needed to work upon, like geometry, coordinate geometry. I really needed to work on these concepts because I wasn't really exposed to geometry post 10th grade, because I was a business student and I picked business. So I didn't really have to do geometry after 10th grade. So it was essentially new to me, and TDP really broke it down, really simplified the whole process, and really enabled me to understand all the theorems from scratch and know when to apply them, etc., etc. So that is one aspect that I found super useful, and it just helped me get confident with the whole test. Like you could customize an entire test, 31 questions, and it did essentially feel like the quant section of a mock, provided you follow the timings, etc. And that really helped me get into the groove to face the actual exam. So the first time I took the GMAT after I completed TDP, I ended up scoring a 730 because I didn't have a great test day. My quant performance was really bad. I ended up scoring 730, and my breakdown was a 44 verbal and a 47 quant, which is my exact same breakdown, when I took the mock call. So I was very disappointed, and I knew that TDP had made me a better quant student. So I was like, there's no way I'm settling for this, and I took it again. I remember mailing Scott, and I was telling him, I'm really disappointed. And Scott tried to back me up, saying, it's a good score, you should be happy. But I knew that, I'd come a long way, and TDP had helped me come a long way. So I felt like I owed it to myself and to TDP to give it another shot. So I ended up booking the exam a month later. I still used TDP to brush up on all the concepts, the custom test generators. This time I tackled the harder questions a bit more, to prepare myself just a bit better. And yeah, fast forward 1 month later, and I took the exam. I was still unsure as to how well I was doing, because I found some questions very challenging, and I felt like, it was 50-50. But then once I saw the 760, I was so relieved. Like, my GMAT journey is done 3.5 years later, and TDP had a really, really big part to play in it. So I'm super grateful to Target Test Prep for helping me beat the GMAT, and I'm sure a lot of GMAT aspirants around the world will find this a very useful course, and you should definitely give it a shot. So thank you, Scott, and thank you. I want to thank you to the Target Test Prep team for coming up with such a wonderful product. So yeah, thank you.